Okay, hello and welcome to another video that I'm making showing you how a Thermomix works and how cooking is made easy with Thermomix. I'm cooking a tomato risotto today, and so just press that way so you can see our Thermomix. So just so those that have just joined me on this as a first video, this is the Thermomix TM6, the model that was launched in July. And this is the complete setup that we have here. So I'm going to be cooking the tomato risotto. So let me just talk you through all the different bits firstly. So I have already added this, so we're going to look at my screen. I have already added this to my week. So if we go onto here and click, you can see cook today, the tomato risotto. Risotto al pomodoro. So I'm going to hit that there to click. So we're going to move the varoma tray out the way because we don't need that for this recipe. And I'm also going to take out the steaming basket because we don't need that. And just keep hold of our measuring cup, which goes in the top of our lid here. So looking at the tomato risotto, before we start cooking, let's just have a look at the information that we get on the screen with every recipe. We have the rating for the recipe, whether it be easy, moderate, difficult, that's here. The preparation time, which is 10 minutes. The total time, that's 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes to cook it, so you know how long you need and how many portions there are. We then have the list of all the ingredients that we require here. And alongside that are the preparation steps that we'll be following in a minute through guided cooking. Utensils that we will need, and then if there's any hints, tricks, tips or anything like that. So this is basically saying if you want to make this suitable for vegetarians, you can substitute the Parmesan cheese for vegetarian hard cheese, so that can obviously be used. And then there's a little bit of background information here about risottos, and also the nutrition here, so telling you per portion the calories, the protein, the carbs and the fat that it has within the recipe. Okay, so that gives you all information on this. So we're going to start cooking. So I'll go back to the top and I'm going to start cooking here. So I'll take off my lid, just put that out of the way for the moment. And our first thing we're going to put in is our Parmesan. Now you can buy your hard Parmesan here and basically grate it, so all the time you can have fresh Parmesan. You don't need to buy any of the cupboard dried stuff. Now because I've taken the lid off, you can see the weight has gone into a minus, so I'm going to press tear, which is a reset. Just put that to 0, and I'm going to just put my cheese into there. Okay, so that's 100 grams. Mine's come out to 134. So let's just take a little piece of that out. Okay. There we go. There we go, that's fine. That's okay, happy with that. Put that out the way. Right, so I'm going to put the lid on. Okay, now we're going to get very noisy at this point. Looking here at the screen, we can see I press next, takes us in, tells me to put our measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid, and then we're going to press next, and we're going to use it. Now we have the 3 dials here. You have your speed, which is 10 seconds we're doing. We're not cooking, so there's going to be no temperature, and then this is our speed dial. Now we're turning our speed set to speed 10, so because it's going all the way around to the top speed, the line actually stops there. Okay, so as I said, it's going to be very noisy for this bit because we're going to grate this hard cheese down. Okay. Okay, that bell rings to tell you that it's finished. You can preset how long that rings for, how loud you want it to ring for, etc. Now let's just take that out. So our next step is transferring to a bowl, and we're going to set that aside. So just so you can see here, I'll just show you on the camera, if I tip out that cheese, you can see how finely grated that cheese is. If I get it all out, then I'll show you. So it's great for you to buy our Parmesan. You can then grate it up, put it into a Tupperware storage container, and last probably, I don't know, good 3 to 4 weeks. Doesn't really last that long in our house. Everyone eats it, but just as I better to have that nice fresh grated parmesan for your pastas, pizzas and things. So put that back on there. Let me just show you that there. You can just see how finely grated that parmesan was compared to the hard cubes, 2 centimetre size cubes that we put in. So I'm going to put that to the one side because that's going to come back into our risotto a bit later. Bowl's fine, we don't need to wash it up because we're going to be keeping the parmesan later added into it, so I'm happy with that staying in there. Right, so our next step, if we come and look at the screen, is 90 grams of shallots halved. So here's my shallots here. I'm going to put those in. See the scales going up. Now this was roughly 3 shallots, and basically they were slightly over. All my shallots were quite big, so I did end up with 104 grams, but that's fine. As I say, this is for you to play with. You know, it's your recipe. I don't mind it being over, and it's pointless me cutting one shallot in half just to achieve 90 grams, so that's not a problem. 2 garlic cloves, I'm going to put those in. Okay, and next 40 grams of olive oil. So I take my olive oil from here, set tear on the screen, and I'm just going to pour that in. Oh, there you go, see, dead on 40, that's what happens when you're using it all the time, you get to know spot on. Okay, insert our measuring cup lid, put that on, and then we're going to just firstly chop the onions. So if we look now at the screen here, we can see 5 seconds. Turn the speed selected to speed 5. So you can just see the little line, hopefully, that's faded out, slightly darker than the rest of it. So if I turn that round, again, it'd be noisy while we're chopping. That's just going to chop our onions and our garlic. Okay, super. Press next. Right, so it's asking me if we look at the screen here, scrape down the sides of the mixing bowl with a spatula. We just take that down. Very strong, these shallots, which is why I love the Thermomix chopping the onions, so I don't have to, particularly when they're strong like this. So I'm just going to show you the onions in there. You can see, obviously they went in whole, in shallots cut in half rather, but in whole pieces, and there we have garlic and onions all chopped up. Super. So we're now going to just saute those, which is why we put the oil in as well. So the oil's coated all the onions. Putting our lid back on. Okay, so if we could just now look at the screen here, you will see we've now got time of 3 minutes. We're now going to start heating up. So we've got temperature of 120 degrees. There's the red line showing you. 120 degrees is the hot, and it will go up to 160 on the high temperatures for browning, onions, leeks and that sort of thing, chicken as well. So we're going to 120 and we're turning it to a speed of 1. So you'll see again here the line stops there. So I'm just going to hit that dial, turn that round, and there we go for a speed of 1. So as you can see here on the dials, if you look at the screen, that basically we are using guided cooking. So when we're using the recipes, it takes us through all the steps and everything is preset except the speed. And therefore the speed is what we will then turn to start off the cooking. On the screen you'll see we're on step 12 out of 32 of our tomato risotto recipe, and it says down here that we're cooking. We also look here at the speed, you can see it's at 55, so it tells you as well what temperature it is and as it rises up. Now you'll also see it's suddenly gone red on that line, and it's gone red here as well. This is to tell you that it's hot, so it's particularly a useful function for if you have children in the house, to warn them not to touch that once these are red, because that's when it starts to get hot. And it shows us as well our temperature rising. So that's particularly good on some recipes when it might ask you to add something when a recipe gets to a certain temperature, or reverse in some of the baking recipes, particularly when you're using melted chocolate. It might be you've cooked something and it's at 100 degrees and you have to add the melting chocolate when the temperature's reduced to 40. So you can see how it would reduce down and at what point you can pour that chocolate into your recipe. So this is why we have it showing what the different degrees are and that it's rising up to 120. We're just on a speed 1 and we're using our blade. So basically that's using the sharp side of the blades. Remember, on the blades They're 4 blades, all at varying heights. One side's blunt, one side is sharp. So basically when you're chopping and things like that, or mixing it up, it's sharp. But if you just want to stir it around to those final stages, it's then using the blunt side, and we would have reverse blade come up there. Okay, so we've just got a minute left on that tomato risotto. If I wanted to, in the middle of a recipe, I can go into here, these 3 dots, and I can look at the recipe detail. I like to do this quite a bit. So if we look at the screen, you can then go into your recipe, and I like to look and see what's the next stage coming up. So I can see, oh, this is the stage I'm on, stage 2, and the next stage will be adding the rice and the tomatoes. Okay, so I can go back up, and then I can continue. I can also, if I want to, use scales, so I can press the scales and go into that if I want to weigh anything that's coming up. I can keep looking at the screen here. Our final one is if we wanted to cancel the recipe. So if we've done, sometimes I might do part of a recipe and then I want to continue another one if I mix and matching, so I then cancel the recipe and go into another one. Okay, we can tap the screen, takes us back. If I wanted to go to home, it puts a little bookmark. If you look at that screen there, you can see that bookmark with the little green arrows. So if I want to do anything else, look at anything else, I can do, and then if I tap that, it takes it back to the cooking, so it takes me back to my bookmark. Okay, so we're now done on that. Let's press next. So I'm now going to take the lid off. We'll see that will just change there. Just show you those onions where they've been sautéed. So if you can just see them there, it's obviously a lot harder to smell them, but they smell lovely and cooked, and they've just been sautéed in that oil. So we've got that lovely onion and garlic mixture. So resetting here, I'm just going to add in our rice. Okay, set that through, and we're just going to tip that rice in. Okay, I've only got a tiny bit left. I'm just going to put the rest in. So it's going to be slightly over. That's fine. Okay, because there's no point in leaving that little bit in there. I'm quite happy with that. And next, so we're going to add in our tomatoes. So I've just chopped and diced all the tomatoes in preparation, and I'm going to add those in. Again, they're going to be slightly over because I had 4 very ripe tomatoes, and at the end of the day it's a tomato risotto, so more tomatoes isn't a problem. It's flexible for me to use. Okay, so I'm now going to put the lid back on, taking out the measuring cup, because obviously this will help reduce. Tomatoes are quite watery by tradition, so if we just look at the screen, it literally tells you here without measuring cups. It literally tells you in the recipe with this guided cooking every step that you need to do. So even if you can't cook, you can with this, because it will show you exactly what to do. There, looking at that screen here. Okay, so if we can just see the screen now, we have 3 minutes on the timer. We're going up again to 120 degrees, but if you look closely you can see that figure 85. So this bowl is currently sitting at 85 degrees still from where we sautéed the onions and garlic. So it's not going to take so long to get back up. And we're going for speed 1, which you can just see the little green line there. But if you notice here, this is our reverse blade. So it's preset the reverse blade on this screen, you can see. So basically all we're doing now is stirring the onions, garlic, rice and tomatoes all together and just cooking it for a little bit. We don't want to be chopping up the tomatoes any more than what we've already prepared them. So I'm just going to start that off and get that going. It's just going to cook for 3 minutes there. Okay, so we're cooking it without that measuring cup. Super. Okay, so we should see that there, drop to 80, which see that start to climb back up. I'm just going to take us out. Let's go into my recipes. So my recipes here, just to explain a bit about that on the cookie dough, are all my bookmarks, which are all the recipes that I like within the collection. So if we look at the screen here, you can see the variety of things we can cook. We've got almond milk, pancakes, Asian style rice, tagliatelle with asparagus, aubergine, spinach and lentil curry. Let's show you the recipe there. So again, I can flick through, and like I say, add to my week if I wanted to. I can go back. It's very sensitive on the screen. All it, baked Christmas pudding cheesecake. That's obviously out my Christmas collection. Bacon cheeseburger garbage bread. Interesting. Obviously one of the basil pesto. Basil pesto is going to be one I'm going to be doing because we eat lots of basil pesto, so it's really great. It's lovely and fresh. It's better than the jars. Barbecue sauce. I've made my own tomato ketchup. Beef bourguignon. Beef chipotle soup. So you can see the range of different recipes that we have on here that the machine can do, this Thermomix. It's not just cooking, steaming, we can bake, we can make cakes, we've got bread, we've got cookies, we've got basic hummus, berry foam desserts. So it is really a whole wide range. Bloody Mary cocktails. Cocktails are very good. Cucumber margarita is one of my favourite. So the boozy peach and mint iced tea. A whole range of things that we can do in there. There's our browned onions that we talked about earlier. Okay, we'll take that back there. Created collections. These are the different collections where I have like full demos. So I just mentioned about Christmas. This shows you, if you look at the screen here, the different collections where I've had Christmas things that I've put in that I like for Christmas. And things there. Okay. What else have we got on here? Through our Christmas, so again that's the one I pulled out. Things brandy butter, bread sauce, cheese straws, caramelised red onion chutney, lots of different things there I've pulled together. So you create your collection. So if you're having perhaps a dinner party and you were wanting to choose your recipes, you create that collection. Saturday night dinner party, you put all those recipes into that collection, and therefore when you come to look for it, you can see your collection within there. Okay, so going back to our recipe, that's now finished, so I'm going to take the next. Okay, we're just going to loosen up that bowl at the bottom. I'll just show you in there where it's mixed it all up. You can see all the rice, onions, garlic and tomatoes are now all mixed up. I'm just going to give that a stir around the bottom, just where it's at the bottom of the rice and the heat. Give it a good mix around and just push that back down into the mixing bowl. Okay, so looking at it next. Risottos are so easy to make in here, particularly, as I say, one of the main benefits, what I like about Thermomix, is we don't have to stand over it. We're talking, while I'm doing the video, I'm talking away to you, but generally when I'm cooking, I would be off doing other things at these stages. So without the measuring cup, we're just going to do 1 minute. So if we look at the screen here, so I'm going to hit the button on the dial that starts it, and we'll just set that up for 1 minute to cook. So again, we're just cooking without the measuring cup because of those tomatoes, giving them a good steam while they're cooking. We're at 80 degrees and we're going to just keep going there. So, you know, this is the sort of thing where you can then be doing other things. I can wash up any bits I've had, bowls so far, go off preparing other parts of the dinner if there's other things to go with your dinner that you're cooking. I don't have to be standing over it. Thermomix is just stirring it round, reverse blade as it goes. Okay, you can see it's got to the end of the minute if we look at the screen there, and then it just cooled down for 8 seconds. So when we're getting up to a temperature, there's always this 8-second cool down at the end of your timer, just to bring it back down a bit. So it's already brought it down to 85 degrees from that 100. Okay, next. So we're now going to add in our water. So I'll reset that. So I've got some boiling water over here. Okay, reset there. And in we go. You have to be very careful when you're pouring this, because obviously it goes up in 1 increment, so it's very sensitive where the scales are built into the machine. You can see when I touch it how easy that scale moves. So again, it's very easy to tap on here when you're pouring things in, but it will send your scales out. So very carefully pour from a height and as you get near the end, slow up because of that increments. There we go, 500. Literally a couple of drops at the end there, sorted it out. Good, okay. So next thing, we're adding in a vegetable stock cube. So you can either make your own paste on here, or you can buy a stock cube and use that. And 20 grams of tomato puree. So let's add that in. There we go. Okay. Half a teaspoon of fine sea salt, and then also a quarter teaspoon black pepper. So I've just weighed those out earlier to put in. That's fine. Okay, and then we're putting on our lid, and we're adding in the measuring cup this time. So we're now going to be cooking it. Okay, so looking at the screen, we can see we're at 12 minutes. Going again at 100 degrees. We're currently sitting at 90, and again that's speed 1, so we're going for a bit longer. Okay, so this is really going to now just cook the rice using that water, and all these recipes are worked out in our labs within Cookie Do and Thermomix, and they prepare all these recipes so they're all scientifically worked out, so the results that we get from here are perfect. Okay, right, what I'm going to do is sign off here, and then I'm going to come back for part 2 in a minute to show you once we're near the final stages and once the risotto is ready. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back to part 2 of our risotto. We've now cooked that stage there, so let's just have a look at our risotto there. It's going to be quite hard to show you as it's quite gloopy at the moment and liquidy. You can just about see it before it tips out. Okay, so we're going to go on to our next stage on here. So we're going to add in 40 grams of unsalted butter that's diced. So I have that here. Just put that into there. Okay, super. And then next we're going to put in that reserved parmesan that we grated earlier. So let's add that in, just spread it around. There we go. And then waste none of that. And next we're just going to stir that in with this gently with our spatula. So we get into the bottom of that risotto, give that a good stir around, getting all the parmesan butter mixed in through the bottom around those blades. Give it a good stir. Now it will be quite soupy at this stage, as it is with risottos, because we need to let it stand just for a couple of minutes, just to let the rice, taking it off of the machine just so that we don't interfere with the calibration of the scales, because it mustn't bang onto here. Okay, and then we're going to just leave it to stand, it says for that couple of minutes, so we're going to put that on the top there. Just leave that stand for a couple of minutes. Okay, so that's our risotto at the moment. If we just on that, it says serve immediately. So risotto there, again, this is through our guided cooking. Manual cooking is basically using the dials here. So with the, let's grab one of the books from here. Every Thermomix comes with our Simple Ideas book, which has full of the different recipes and things. So when you want to use a recipe from a book, or if you've Googled a recipe, then basically our manual cooking is using the dials on there, you know, through a book. So just show you that one. Let's go with one of our cakes here. Let's see, blackberry muffins with a cardamom crunch topping. So if we look here on that, you will see it has here 10 seconds speed 10, 10 seconds speed 5, turbo 1 second 3 times. So that's basically using here, if we wanted to go, if we just look here on the screen, if I went into turbo here, that probably won't let me do it because we're in the middle of the recipe. Okay, no, it is. So that's 1 second, and then that's our turbo button. We hit that turbo button, and then I need to turn that dial 3 times. So that's our manual cooking, where we're using that here. So I'm going to go back to our recipe there. And so manual cooking is where you're literally following it here, and you're not having it all preset. With our guided cooking, because we're working off the machine, it's preset on there. But with our manual cooking, you're using the instructions. And there are many bloggers on the internet, on website, particularly in Australia. So you can find many recipes just by Googling. And when you're Googling these recipes, that's how you will work with the manual cooking on the machine. Similarly, with your own recipes, the Simple Ideas book that comes with the Thermomix gives you instructions on what the different speed settings do. So when you have your own recipe, if you have a favourite recipe that you particularly like yourself, you can convert it and use that Thermomix to do it. So I, for example, have a nachos recipe I do quite a lot with refried beans, and I use all the preparation stages that this recipe has in my Thermomix, because it's, you know, obviously the chopping the onions, the sauteing, all that, it might sort of do it in there because it speeds it up and I don't have to stand over the pan stirring around it, etc., chopping myself. So I use that as well as part of that recipe. So okay, I think that's been a couple of minutes. Let me just grab a serving dish. I'm just going to dip that into here. And then afterwards we can use that pre-clean function. And say with this it needs a bit more because your risottos are a little bit more stickier because of the fact we've been using our parmesan as well within the recipe. There we are, and there we have one tomato risotto. Moving around there, so it's really easy to come that in on that camera there. You can just see on that lovely risotto there for 4 people. Okay, so that's the tomato risotto. Okay, and let's just self-clean that up. So we're just going to cover the blades with some water. A couple of drops of very liquid in the water. That's all it needs. We'll put that back on here. Okay, put the lid back on. If we look at the screen, okay, we'll just take us out of the recipe so it's finished. And then we're going to set that off there in a minute. Okay, so I won't take that through because obviously that's just cleaning it up, and you're just going to see my pre-clean function video, which is probably easier to see that. Okay, so hopefully that explains a bit more about cooking a risotto and a recipe, and there'll be more recipes to follow to show you exactly what else the Thermomix TM6 can do. Okay, thank you for now. Bye.